Well, this is failing miserably. It's losing 10 psi a minute. Yep, 10 psi, 1 minute. It's coming right out of the treadle valve. Step and hold it. Keep holding that. Are you pushing really hard?
Yeah.
Okay, let off. Push and hold down the PP2. All right, and release it. This is the new replacement PP2 air valve. So this is the push-pull for the parking brake for DD3s. It's different than a regular one on spring brakes. It has some different features on it, so it's plumbed in differently. But, that was definitely leaking and causing air to leak back through the treadle valve, a big air leak. So this should fix a lot of air leaks right now. So our big air leak here is on this belt tensioner for the alternator. I turn it on. And even when it's in the off position, it's leaking. If you jiggle it just right, you can get to stop. But it's actually the cylinder that's leaking, and then it passes through it, and then it comes out the other hose, which then comes out the exhaust valve on the switch. So probably the switch isn't bad, but just in case, we ordered a rebuild kit for this switch as well, for the valve here. But more likely than not, the problem is just the rebuild kit that we need for that cylinder there. We've got to take it off and rebuild that. But that's what puts the tension on the alternator belt, slides it back. But that's a hell of an air leak. And he was having problems with the alternator, saying alternator not charging, and we're guessing it's just because the tension wasn't tight enough on the belt, so it wasn't spinning as much RPM as it should have been. We're adjusting the leveling height here. This is supposed to be 3 9/16 inches from the bump stop to the bottom of the new, from the bottom of the bump stop to the base there. And this side is about 1 inch lower than the other side, and we're just adjusting the leveling arm, making it longer so that we have the correct distance there. And then the bus is going to sit nice and level. Air suspension has stayed up for several days on its own without air, so everything is leak-free now that we've added the block-off plates. Everything turned out nice in here, and all those brand new hoses and lines and everything is all new in there. This bus is really, really going to be a nice ride. So we're taking this apart, and you can see where those O-rings were all gunked up, and you can see in here where they were rubbing, scraping, contaminated, just not making a good seal. That's why this PP2 was leaking so much. Want me to hold it? No. What? Is the board bad in there, or is it okay?
What?
Is the bore bad in there, or is it okay?
It's hard to tell with how much oil's in there.
snap ring broke off in there on both ends. New belts for the alternator. So now we have the belt tensioner fixed. It's filling with air right now, but the new belts are on there. The tension is tight. There's no air leaks back here. We do have a slight air leak if we turn the tensioner off to where it retracts to allow the belts to slack. There's a tiny bit of air leak coming out of the cylinder there, but it only leaks when you're changing the belts. So it's good to drive. No leaks like that. So that was the second cylinder we had to rebuild in order to get one that would work. So this is definitely low on some oil here and pretty gunked up. If you tip it just a little bit, we can see a bunch of slime and stuff down there in the bottom. So we're gonna go get this all cleaned and serviced. Get the rest of it. Looks like they used motor oil on this one. At least it's not a mouse. I don't think it's a mouse, right? It could be. On the bottom of it, just a little. There's quite a bit of dirt down in there. It's almost awesome. A little bit. Air filter does its job. Feel the outside too.
Go right there.
Tiny bit more, I think. That's good. Okay, we're about 110. Let's see how our air leaks are doing. Typically we do this for 60 seconds and see how much air we've lost. Seconds and we're still at 110. "45 seconds, we're still at 110. I don't see the line for 110 anymore, so it's hidden by the gauge. So I'm going to say we're losing about a half a PSI a minute. It's been a minute now, and we're still at 110. We're not at 109, that's for sure. So yeah, we're about one PSI a minute. Less than 1 PSI a minute. Actually, if I let it go 2 minutes here. I mean, we're almost a minute and 30 seconds in and we're still at 110. I would say this air system is very, very tight. And if I turn off the parking brake, and step and hold the brake, initial surge of air coming out there. We're still holding. My foot is getting tired of pushing down on the pedal. So same thing, probably about 1 PSI a minute with the brakes applied. Well within DOT specs. This bus will definitely pass a DOT check. Let go of the brake. brake. That's a separate tank that applies the parking brake on a DD3. Nice job. Today's the big test drive for this bus. It's going to be heading out on the highway, looking for some adventure, whatever comes our way. It's been through a lot here it's been here over 4 weeks now. But everything's gonna be like new. Should be a really, really good ride here. So we're gonna fire it up here in just a few minutes. And we got a couple things to move out of the way. We put the scaffolding up because we installed that fan up there in the shop to get the hot air out of here. But, yeah, this turned out really nice. It's sitting nice and level. We had to play with the height adjusters a little bit. But when it came in, only one tag wheel had air pressure to it. The other one was turned in the off position. So he's been driving it. Well, he just bought it, but whoever had it in the off position. But he drove it all the way here from Atlanta with one tag not having any pressure on it. And the bus was definitely leaning when it got here. The brakes were the worst probably part of this bus. Well, no, the steering was probably the worst. The brakes were a close second. Or maybe, let's say they're both tied for first. Remember, we had brake chambers that had holes in them, brakes that were sticking, clevis pins that were seized where they weren't pivoting, the slack adjusters couldn't return, leaky wheel seals, bad bearings, the bushings were shot, the airbags were so bad they were deflating all the time. Brake hoses had holes in the middle of them. When you'd step on the treadle, air would come out of the middle of a brake line. It was just massive air leaks. We were ready to have this thing go on a test drive last Friday, but then I was doing our pre-trip inspection and we couldn't pass the DOT inspection. We kept losing too much air. This thing had probably like 20 to 30 PSI of air leaks when it first got here per minute, which is insane. It's just hard. If you were going down the highway, it would keep up, but other than that, you had to be careful with it. The DD3 brake chambers were bad. The push-pull valve, that's what was wrong. After we did the test, once we used the push-pull valve to release the parking brake on it, then there was too much of an air leak for the bus to overcome. It was still 10 PSI a minute, and we couldn't have that. So we had to order the new push-pull valve that was letting air, because it was bad, it was letting air leak back through the push-pull valve coming right out the treadle. The bottom of the treadle exhaust is where it goes to. And yeah, 10 PSI, I was like, no, we can't drive it, darn it, everything passed the inspection until we released the parking brake. So that was crazy. But yeah, we got this thing ready to go. We're super excited. Just finished cleaning out a few things, get all the doors closed up and batten down on it, and gonna hit the highway. Well, the not gen light has been on the whole time while we're driving, but we confirmed with the gauge here that it was charging, and then we put the voltmeter on it, and it definitely is charging while it's running. So the not gen light, you can see it's all bleached out here. Apparently it's been on for years, just on all the time. So we'll see if we can figure out why it's going on, but the alternator is working and charging, so the not gen light doesn't really mean anything to us right now. But you can tell there's a problem in the electrical system with it, but it's not that the alternator is not producing power, because it is.
That bus grease monkey, don't you know?
Here we go.
It's that bus grease monkey, don't you know? It's that bus grease monkey, don't you know?
Good. Gauges here. So there's our temperature gauge. So 180. All looks good. Are we ready?
Ready. feel to be driving a bus.
Feels good. The steering is very nice on it. Not working the wheel too hard here. The steering wheel's not straight though. Gotta get on the straight road to find out exactly what position it's in. There is virtually zero play in there. I can feel the power steering kicking in as soon as I just start to turn the wheel back the other way.
How fast are we going? Because it feels like we're flying, but I'm not used to being in a bus for a
We're
while.
doing 50.
Don't forget school's back in now, too.
Definitely working the wheel just a little bit. Feels like it's more the power steering now than anything. Goes pretty straight though, just battling some wind. But we're doing 70, and I'm barely working the wheel here. The wind of that truck pushed me over. Fighting the wind. The steering wheel is pretty straight. I mean, other than it's not horizontal, very little corrections going down the road. And We're doing 75 right now. Feels good. Right now.
And we might need to trim a couple of branches back up there.
Brake in. Release the brake.
So the parking brake is off now. Yep.
That's quick.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, we still need it.
Put it in gear.
Okay. There we go.
Keep going just a tiny little bit. Okay, mash the brake. Oh, that was not mashing the brake. Oh.
Okay.
Hit it.
Okay. Nice.
It stops.
It stops. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I just wanted you to kind of be used to the feel for the brakes. But yeah, when you're coming up on a thing, go and just do a nice slow braking now, just to kind of get used to it. Just come to a gentle stop. Try and stop on that line right there. Just get used to it.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Feel nice?
Nice.
Okay. And then we're gonna set up to make a right-hand turn out of here.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess you can make a left. Let's make a left. We'll just have to wait for traffic a little bit. Because there's a center lane out here that we can pull into if we need to.
Okay. Oh, look at all the traffic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? Totally different bus?
Yes. Oh yeah, I see the steering wheel just standing still. Perfect.
Yeah. Probably start braking here a little bit. That truck's turning. There you go. You always want to leave extra braking room just because a bus doesn't stop like a car. Still 75?
Yep. Don't feel like it.
Yep.
Almost 80. Actually, it feels good at 75. You can feel that's what you want to be, you know? I can tell. I mean,
I got AC.
Well, we test drove this bus more than we've ever driven any other bus for a test drive, over 100 miles, and he gets 15 miles down the road and it breaks down. The throttle linkage fell apart. When you step on the pedal all the way down, it's so worn that the linkage just comes apart. So we're able to zip tie it back together and get him back on the road, and we'll order the part and see about replacing this in the very near future for him.
See that white smoke rising up the holler through the trees, and from a mile away you can hear them play as they climb that hill with ease. But at the top of that mountain there's a new life waiting for those who can make the run. If they can make it to the top, Scott will put them in the shop till their new life has begun. Mountain, where the buses come to run.